welcome once again to WHAM, the only and probably best Warhammer monthly podcast you'll ever hear in your lifetime. As always, I am Adam, and with me, of course...
Oh no, I'm cutting now. How are we going from the only and probably best? Find out we are the best.
Well, you see, the way...
False modesty is fishing for compliments.
Fine, only and absolute top shelf, beautifully brilliant Warhammer monthly podcast that you didn't know you wanted, and now are in your veins, and all you want is more.
That's better.
Fair enough. Much like heroin, we're a bit moreish.
However, if you sit around and indulge with us, you will put on weight, not like heroin. Fun fact, kids, not a lot of chubby smackheads. True. Rambo from Grange Hill, because he was a wee bit kind of husky, shall we say. And we're not matching. I'm possessing a beer gut as a man of my age tends to do. So, but yeah, you would have thought, could you not have picked one of the really skinny kids in Grange Hill? You had enough of them.
You know, it's weird actually. Grange Hill is one of those things that I remember watching it, but I remember nothing about it other than the theme tune and the Don't Do Drugs song. That is literally it. Unlike Biker Grove, which decided to go completely, absolutely batshit mental for its final episode, Grange Hill has no lasting impact on me at all.
Mr. Bronson?
Nope.
Jeez.
Unless it was Charles Bronson.
Oh, Mr. Bronson, who was Admiral Ozzel in Empire Strikes Back, and one of the teachers in the school headmaster in Remembrance of the Daleks, and he's in lots of other stuff as well. I do the man had a much storied career in British television. I do him a vast disservice of these are the things Andrew watched him in when he was a kid.
So the problem there is that you've just mentioned Grange Hill, which I've said I have no memory about, Star Wars, which I have no connection to at all. Oh no, Remembrance of the Daleks, I've seen that and I did enjoy that. I haven't seen it in 30 odd years, but you know.
It's on iPlayer, you can fix that. Quality show.
I don't doubt it for a second. 30 years is probably a bit much. 20 years. Whenever Doctor Who came back anyhow, I did a big, massive run of, watching Doctor Who on DVD and hooky copies. But anyhow, better get some introductions out of the way. As always, I am Adam, and with me, as always, is Mr. Turnbull.
Yes, and we're here to look at the 7th issue of Warhammer Monthly, which will see the departure of Darkblade for a time, the introduction of Shadowfast, the continuation of Demonifuge, and Blood Quest for only one more issue after this one, for it will again be departing for a short while. So this hit the shelves in September of 1998.
Yeah, September 1998. There was a... September 1998 just feels like so far away.
I just finished my year's work placement in uni because I had a sandwich course, so we did a year out. So I was just getting ready to go back to uni for my degree year. Yeah,
98. I would have just finished my second year of college. Yeah, I would have just done my second year of college, and I had one more year left of college because I'd gone back and started sociology in my second year, because doing psychology, English literature and language, and programming and various computer sciences wasn't enough for me. Oh no.
No, none of that. I liked free time.
The funny thing is, the computers was all the different computer ones are only in the mornings, and it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? All my other lessons were afternoons, so it was quite good. And on a Monday, the entire class had to go and do maths because our average for GCSE maths was really low, so they wanted us to come back to do maths. So instead of doing that, the entire class would go to Carlisle and go play Laser Quest all day.
Free spirits.
And to this day, I look back at that and I think to myself, how were we not all just thrown off the course?
Because they would have lost money otherwise. It's one of these things that they can make certain threats, but they can never follow through on.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's always hilarious that you look back at it and go, it wasn't just like one or two of us. It started off like 5 of us went and did it. Then the next week there was 7, then there was 8, then there was 12. And then next thing you know, the entire class is going to Laser Quest on a Monday, if you remember that one.
Do not. That kind of passed me by.
Warhammer Dark Omen was the Warhammer Fantasy Battle PC strategy game. The one that took a Shadow of the Horned Rat and ramped it up and did an amazing job.
I'll take your word for it, because I did play Shadow of the Horned Rat, which I really enjoyed. But I think the next, or around that, was probably Space Hulk on the PS1 or PS2.
Yeah. PS.
That was very good, even if it did have Blood Angels in it. Come on, Dark Angels.
It should have been Deathwing. Why was it not Deathwing?
Look, I know Blood Angels were there on the very first version of it and all that, but even so, I was like, nah, Deathwing looks cooler.
Aye. I mean, Deathwing just simply are cooler. You don't get any books with the Blood Angels Terminators as the name of the anthology, do you? You don't. No. There's a reason for that.
Know your place.
So let's get into it then. Let's begin. Let us start the journey into Warhammer Monthly Issue 7 with a cover that I actually really like. Once again, they've learned the lessons well. There's not a huge amount of problems I have with this cover at all.
No, it's
decent. Nice picture.
Yep, it's Darkblade getting the cover spot, which makes sense given it's his final episode of his first book. Wayne Reynolds is responsible for the art. Nice, atmospheric. One of him sort of walking through the mists, which are all kind of distorted and green and pungent. There's some braziers and some candles in the background, giving a bit of contrast light. He's got a very. I love most is the texture on the sword.
Yes,
and it's caked in blood. I was going to come to that as well, but I really like because it's quite often when you get your sword and sorcery covers and your guy with sword they're always too shiny because they like to make the shiny effects. And I said, it's an instrument of war and battle. It's nicked, it's damaged, it's uneven, and there's lots and lots of dry blood on it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the texturing is absolutely superb.
Yeah. And there's a lot of texture on this as well,
yes.
And on Blade as well, because at this point he's a year into his curse, so he has been tainted by chaos. And you can see it in his. I mean, not that Dark Elves have the best of powers, but he's a particularly looking one, even by their standards.
Pale. Yeah.
Scotsman in Spain is paler than pale. Scotsman on holiday for the first time. That's what you want to see. That's like albino plus.
For some reason, I just had a weird flashback to Not Another Teen Movie. So thanks for that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I do like the billowing Spawn-esque cape, but it's quite restrained by that because it's only got the one multiple forking point rather than the 5 or 20 that Todd was, is, and always will be a fan of.
And to be honest with you, long may it continue, because I love two things I love from Todd McFarlane's work is the way he draws capes and the way he draws fog. I love it. It is so much fun. It's so super hyperkinetic, and it's just lovely.
Yeah. But no, as we say, good cover. It's readable. Just exactly what you want.
So, moving open into the inside then. We've got the usual nonsense. We've also got the little banner down the side that tells us who's in this. Demonophew, Shadowfast, Bloodquest, Darkblade. And at the very bottom, we have a little cutout that just says starting next month. And it's better than last month's issue because you can read the words. Yeah. But once again, because of the way it's been put together, it takes you a little while to realise there's two dwarves in that picture.
As we've said, so we'll not go on it. We've done that enough, but it's just the space needs to be used better. Get rid of the two, because let's say because when you look at the sidebar with the 4 strips in the issue, Bloodquest is the only one that parses right away. It's a very nice, clean image of the Chaos Possessed.
Yeah. Yes.
The grey tones of Demonophew obscure Ephrael Stern a little bit, and because Simon Harrison's artwork is so intricate and rendered, you're losing a lot of the detail on that.
Yeah.
Darkblade suffers the same as Demonophew, that the greys just
vanishes into it.
Yeah, so moving swiftly on. I think that's... Otherwise, Well, rant and rave, a redundant rant and rave. So we're kicking off with part 3 of Demonofuge.
By Jim Campbell and Kev Walker, art by Kev Walker, letters by Fiona Stevenson.
And you will only know that by staring at that intently, because whoever put that in needed to put that in white. That's really...
Yes.
Or put a box out behind it of white, whatever. A thin box. That's just... No.
It's weird, isn't it, how much this magazine keeps hitting these problems.
Again, you don't know whether that lettering job was done by the letterer or was that done by the studio at the time, because there are certain bits that will go in. So you don't really know for sure. So, but again, let's move past that. So we'll go on. So again, we pick up pretty much exactly from where we left off last issue. So there's no time jumps. It is the Hammer of Thor is exploding and they are heading towards the surface.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they're not heading too quickly, and so there's shockwaves as a result of the dirty big explosion of the Hammer of Thor.
I love it when space has physics. It's one of these things where when it's missing, you know it's missing. When it's there, it always makes me very happy.
Again, to go back to something you have no connection. The special edition of Star Wars, specifically in New Hope in 1997, has a lot to do with that. Because the minute they did the shockwave of the Death Star, anytime there's a space explosion, everybody at that point was, we need a wee shockwave explosion coming in.
Yeah.
It very much became there has to be a wee shockwave battling out of this.
Yes. Oh man, Star Wars. So much to answer for.
What you basically see is, say, they're in the sort of little pod and they're getting battered about, things are exploding. It's the typical, your little escape pods are not really built to take the full force of an explosion and shockwave at the back of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trope in all of science fiction in terms of anything involving space. Is escape pods are pish. Now, to me, if I was building an escape pod, they would be like the black box recorders on normal jets, like so dense and so thick that they're basically like little tanks.
Yes,
because to my mind, that's what they should be.
Absolutely.
Delicate things that just get bounced about right, left, and centre. And you're like, no, that should be a massive brick.
Well, why are escape pods not escape pods inside an escape pod? Why have you not got them on, like, the escape pod you sit in, and then you have all these shock absorbers, and then you have the outer layer escape pod?
Yeah.
So when you're dropping, or you don't feel very much inside because you have these stabilizers constantly adjusting and shock absorbing. And it's something I don't understand why that's never been done.
I mean, we can see why in the Imperium of Man is because they give no fucks about people. But just generally in science fiction, it's like, if you've got an escape pod, this thing should be, fit for purpose. Not this.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the reason why is it obviously comes from the naval lifeboat thing, because that's where it evolves from, where lightweight, not particularly durable, and only, and a lot of times, only delaying the inevitable touch of death.
Well, it depends.
Yeah. Oh, we do love a shark trope, but it was again. It's just one of these things that in science fiction, though, you would kind of think that you're building redundancy into redundancy in space. So, like I say, this is not a dig at the story; it's just an observation in general. But as I say,
they're dropping in aliens, and they make such a
and despite it being as hard as possible, this dropship's like made of tinfoil as well.
Yes,
its durability weakens depending on plot convenience.
It depends who's on it. The more important the person on it, the more durable it becomes. We
need some plot armor here. But back to Demonofuge, you have the escape pod being buffered about, and the narration you have is Ephrael Stern. It's not spelled out to you, I'm Ephrael Stern, blah blah blah, but it is. And she's remarking about it was like an assault drop and it was all thunder and fury, but one amongst us felt the naked horror of it all.
I love this.
You get the reveal, because it's not really made explicitly clear. You kind of get hints of it in the previous parts, but the Inquisitor's a psyker.
Mm-hmm.
Because not all Inquisitors are psychers. Some are, some aren't. But, so, he basically gets to feel the death of all the members of the crew.
Yeah.
And copes admirably well.
I'm surprised he took it as well as he did. Ah, now I see it. Venomous witches. It's also clear. Harlots of chaos.
So he is looking at the rest of the Sisters of Battle, and they all look, to be honest, metal as fuck.
Well, they've all turned into a Kiss album cover.
Better than Kiss, to be fair. But they're all horned, glowing-eyed demons with big tongues snaking out. So he's gone completely mental. And he's looking at the three Sisters of Battle. So you have on the page, the tail end of the page, it's a beautiful page turn. It's a lovely little joke. A little bit. He's looking at three of them, and they're all, let's say, demonic and evil. Page turn is the same three of them, but we as they actually are. So normal Sisters of Battle. And it's like, got him, beats me.
I'll suffer not a witch to live. Blessed are they that reap the sinners from the sight of the Emperor.
So he basically starts gunning down the Sisters of Battle, and it's like, so they're all like, "Oh, we need to hold this idiot down." Also, it is also one of these things like you're letting a madman fire a bolt gun in a pressurized container.
Yes.
It's up there with hijackers having guns in planes. It's all well and good you having the gun, but realistically, you can't really shoot that. You discharge that weapon. If anything goes astray, it's like, not that I'm advocating better hijackers, but tasers are easier to come by these days, guys. Or those beanbag shotguns.
Yeah. I mean, just a little air rifle, like a BB gun. You can hurt somebody with one of them. You shoot them in the face.
Not that we're advocating for hijacking.
No.
We here at WHAM do not condone terrorism.
Not even slightly, unless it's against certain types of car. Anyhow, moving on.
Or certain democracies.
Yes.
Correct. So basically, he's going absolutely mental, and you then have, we're getting little snapshot panels of him attempting to restrain him as we see the escape pod break through the atmosphere and hit the deck. But he's not really they're not doing a good job of restraining him. It's kind of like, get the damn bolter off him. It's like, well done, yeah, that's a thing. It's like medic for, obviously, someone's injured, someone's like, knock him out. It's like, you're all making very good suggestions, but rather than saying, perhaps doing.
Yes.
That's easy to say when someone is firing a bolter with what we can only describe it as gay abandon.
If it wasn't for the fact he's in full psychotic hallucination mode, he does seem to be enjoying himself.
Yeah, he's happy. He's happy. He's in his element. And so they're basically, then it just comes to it's like, with 5 seconds to landfall, assume impact positions. And it's like, someone goes, what? It's like, the other's like, whole time, like, yeah, you're not really doing much. You're just about to get your teeth rattled.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because even if it's exploding, it's still going to have enough chunks, and they're likely going to land on you.
Yes.
And hopefully they will evade it in a way that is perhaps better than my favourite comedy outrunning of falling space debris, which will always be Prometheus.
Exactly. Oh,
yeah.
God, fuck Prometheus.
It's the fact that she kept running in a straight line, and I'm like, see if you just run diagonally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like,
but that would mean that any person in Prometheus actually had half a brain, which none of them do. My favourite ones being the biologist who tries to touch the obviously unknown alien creature, and the geologist who's scared of rocks and caves.
Yeah, Prometheus is. I remember fondly watching that in the cinema with some friends and going, "This is one of the most beautiful looking piles of excrement I've ever seen." Oh
yeah, well, I came out of Prometheus angry because I thought I'd missed something. I thought I just hadn't understood something. And it took me about 2 weeks to realise, no, I'm not an idiot. That film was shit.
Yeah, oh no, we knew right away because I was there with a couple of friends. So we were out, we're on holiday, so we're visiting some friends, and so 3 of us just went to cinema that night. Like, all right, aye. But anyway, so no, they know right away. It's like, the threat isn't over. You've survived this, but there's something else coming.
Yes.
And it's a good way. I love in serial storytelling, not giving your characters a moment to rest.
Yes.
For the story, there's a vague threat of chaos. We know this based on what's happening, that we've had the Slaneshi demons in the first couple of parts. Mm-hmm. So we know they're on the horizon, but rather wisely, before we get to them, we're going to make it difficult for them to even get there anyway.
Yeah.
Now,
One of the things I really wanted to bring up with this, and I think now's a good time to bring it up, is I'm always a fan of subtle escalation, right?
Yeah.
So this all happened because they discovered there was a guy who had a demon possession on the ship. So from that seed, you have the Hammer of Thor blowing up. They've got this in.
And to bring it back, you also have the thing of it's the Inquisitor's call that the spaceship's destroyed because he's not.
Yeah.
As it stands, we only know that the Navigator was tainted. We don't know anyone else has. He has just gone full Inquisition of I can't take that risk. We're done. Yeah. Again, it's a subtle way of highlighting the absolute stupidity of the Imperial mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's inherent for it. To cure the infection will kill the patient. It's very Imperial and especially the inquisitorial mindset. It's like,
there is no such thing as overkill, just getting the job done.
Yeah, it is very much a case of, oh, that guy was tainted. What about them? I don't know. What should we do? Should we investigate? Kill them.
Yeah, exterminatus, just to be sure.
But what it also does is rather subtly, it will give you the bit of, you can make, because at that point he's very suspicious of the Stern and to be honest, the rest of the sisters will have some questions about Stern.
Yeah.
But given what he's done there, he is now questioned by them all.
Yes.
They will now be like, well, he's a mad job. That's by the head of the Order basically saying, Ephriel's trying to pull him from the wreckage. She's like, leave him. He's like, we've enough problems, we don't need a madman. And she's like, we can't leave the Inquisitor. And she's basically saying, I don't know why, but I know we need him. So she basically said, you go away, I'm going to get him out. And we see some vehicles leave there. So the escape pod seems to be quite a sizable pod. If you've got some rhinos and some various other bits and bobs.
Well, one's a rhino. I don't know what the other thing is, but my God, I love it.
Yeah.
It's just like an armoured fist.
Yeah.
Mm.
So again, they're pulling away. She managed to get the Inquisitor out, but she's not going to get free of the blast of what's coming down. And then all of a sudden, she's like, "Well done, my sisters. You at least will be safe." And then she just says, "His divine will preserve us." And the lettering changes to slightly jaggy, kind of not quite human.
Mm-hmm.
And we get some digital tweaking of her as she screams, and energy just starts to emanate from her eyes.
Yes. And
then it explodes.
The scale of what we're seeing here is so unrelentingly huge.
Yeah. The camera goes back and we get a big, massive explosion, and we see lots more smaller ones as various bits of debris hit the ground, lighting up the sky and around it, chucking smoke and debris up. And you get the veneration again, still from Ephriel. The ground was scourged by its purifying flame. Chaos snapped at the heels of those that fled, exacting a heavy toll. And the few that survived were tempered by the fire. And she's still talking with the erratic energy, so with erratic dialogue balloons by the Emperor's blood, but says, Ephriel.
See, now, here's a question for you. Because of what's in the background, is that Stern, or is that the Mother Superior?
And again, the jaggy dialogue balloon, what is that suggesting? Is she corrupted, or is she touched by whatever Imperial presence it is? Yeah, actually, I think you're right. It's actually her. So,
yeah. It's a bit of a weird one. As much as I've got a lot of good to say about this, those last two panels I found a little bit hard to pass out.
We've got, again, quite deliberate because you're doing the smoke and the debris, basic, which is what it would be. You would not be seeing a huge amount. But yeah, a couple of bits could be done to absolutely parse. Now, as you can tell from what we've been saying, is the prose for this is as purple as you can get.
Purple prose.
Yeah, well, to be fair, in terms of when you're dealing with folks that are in the Imperial cult or that, they probably would talk like that anyway, so it's not an unnatural dialogue.
No.
If someone was quite matter-of-fact, they'd be like, who is this simpleton? And probably put them at death.
Get back in your world, shit farmer.
Yeah. So you're going to have, they're all going to talk in these massively overblown, pompous phrases.
Yes.
And never just going to be, oh, there's an explosion. It'll just be, no, a purifying flame, the wrath of the Emperor, all that. All that good purple bollocks.
Yeah, what does not destroy the Adeptus Sororitas makes them stronger. Yeah, wonderful.
You're stronger, but your most powerful ship's gone?
Yep, and
trend?
got less tanks.
What doesn't destroy us generally means we have to clean up afterwards.
Mm-hmm. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Not entirely true. What doesn't kill you means that you're still alive in order to learn and not eat those berries next time.
Correct.
But
yeah, no, I agree on that front. But as we said, it's textbook serial storytelling. It's keeping the plates moving and throwing things in, because what you want is, and when we've talked about other stories over the preceding episodes, it's about, it should still be a satisfying read in its own right,
Mm-hmm.
With a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yes.
And a hook to keep you coming back for the next one, if it's a serial, which is what this is. Which is, the beginning is, we're escaping the explosion. Middle is the Inquisitor going absolutely batshit crazy. And the end is some of them surviving, but apparently not all.
Mm-hmm.
And given that Ephriel's been the main character, it's one of these things that there's no, and the big energy burst from her face means she's survived. It's not, the jeopardy isn't that, is she going to survive? It's, we want to know, how did she survive?
Yeah, how did she survive and how did she do it? What's the mystery?
That's the hook to the next issue. Again, I'm a big fan of the Monofuge, always was. Again, as I've said in previous episodes, Kev Walker's, I love his work.
Mm-hmm. I think going back to it now, it's really cemented just how good this was coming out the gate. It's stunning.
It's got the pacing right, which I
Yes.
think we can agree neither Darkblade, Titan, or Blood Quest have managed.
No.
I think it's probably Blood Quest being the more satisfying in that it's gradually eased up into its place, so it's ending on a good note. Titan, with the changing page count and kind of the brevity of a couple of installments, stuttered at the end.
Yes, it did.
And Darkblade, we'll come to.
We have thoughts.
We have that. There are thoughts, but Darkblade's never really had. There's not really been any variation in pace. There's no. There's not been any real escalation. It's just, here he is. Here's this episode's threat. This episode's threat's dead. God rest Barry.
Oh, R.I.P. Barry the Bullman.
Forever in a heart.
Did you enjoy the little memoriam I made for him?
I did. I'm assuming Adam will put that up when we publish the episode, so you can see.
I will be. Yep.
But this is the one where it's kind of, you've teased your mystery, but we're escalating as we go, and each individual installment is giving you a satisfying tale as well. So Jim and Kev have got the mix right and got it down pat that we want more. Let's say there's been a couple of missteps, not massive, but that's just the nature of the beast. Again, these get produced on a grind, so you've got to get stuff out, so there'll always be flaws. So that's just the way it is. But it's the one ongoing tale so far that's managed to kind of hit the ground running and keep up a high standard. Will it continue to do so? I hope so. My vague memory says it should. But again, I'm coming back to this after 20 odd years, so this will be fresh eyes. And I'm not the same person I was when I read this that time ago as well.
No.
I don't want to qualify that tastes change.
Of course they do. It's the mushroom problem.
Yeah, well, 1998, again, that's probably my peak going through Moorcock stuff. So again, Darkblade I would have looked much more favourably on, because Vampire Hunter Elric. And I was a big fan of Vampire Hunter D as well.
As well you should be.
So I probably looked up much more favourably on that. Titan, I remember enjoying, but giant robot stories. Other giant pet robot stories are available, which are much better because they're aliens and they turn into cars and trucks. They will forever be enshrined in my heart. So you always have a tough battle getting past that.
just an interesting thought there, actually. So I wonder if anybody actually had a conversation with Simon Furman about writing for Warhammer Monthly. Because what would have Furman been doing in the late 90s?
Was editing Titan books. He was one of the editors on Titan. Yeah, because he was still doing the odd bit and Bob, because he'd just done, obviously, 97 he'd done the first the BotCon 97 Beast Wars comic.
Yes.
He was on the hook to do when Bench... In fact, this would probably be after there was a small imprint called Bench Press Comics that were going to get the license for Transformers and G.I. Joe and produced their pitches and stuff for it. And I think they jumped the gun and didn't quite get the funding for it. But Furman was on board to do Transformers. They had Hammer back for G.I. Joe with Ron Lim.
Mm-hmm.
There was going to be a Beast Wars comic again, Furman and Wildman.
Oh, I'd have loved that.
But Furman was editing the Spawn line of graphic novels from Titan. FYI.
I still have... Well, yeah, I do. I still have those original Titan reprints.
Of course you bloody do.
I was buying them monthly from a local bookshop.
I'm well aware. I do not come from a position of judgment because I bought several of them too. Not all of them, but several.
Oh, no.
Now I'm judging you.
I already had the collection.
Newsflash, the war between heaven and hell is still kind of going on, and we are now on 360.
Yes.
For anyone who wants to know, there's loads of Spawns about now, and Spawn's wife is now back as Mandarin Spawn. She's in the Mandarin Spawn armor.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. And Violator just finished a mini-series, and do you know he was the dog that talked to David Berkowitz?
I don't know what I was expecting you to say, but it wasn't that.
No. When I read that, I was not expecting that either. Me and Gav Spence keep up with Spawn out of some perverse sort of hair shirt, flat self-flagellation. But aye.
Holy shit.
Yes, the Violator went into a wee dog, talked to David Berkowitz, and convinced him to kill.
My God, it's insane. Who's writing Spawn now?
Well, this is in the Violator mini. I can't remember who's writing that, but Todd is back co-writing Spawn, ruining people's thoughts, I imagine. But
my God,
yeah.
Well, wow. Oh, so doing any more of this. There's no point in doing any more monthly. Nothing is going to ever manage to beat that.
It was. I did have me kind of. Thankfully, I wasn't drinking anything at the time. Otherwise, I would have done it.
Jesus, that might be the most insane thing I've heard in comics in a long time. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
Oof.
Just talking about sort of the pacing and how Demonifuse is the one that's kind of hit the ground running in the ongoings.
One of the things I wanted to bring up was the tanks. So, I've got a question for you. Are these tanks hand-drawn? Are they computer-generated? Or are they photos of the models that have been digitally altered?
I think they are computer models.
So the first time you see them, I would agree. The side view, when they're going through as the ground was scourged by the purifying flame, I think that they might actually be just photos of the models that have been digitally adjusted.
Possibly.
There's something about the smokestacks that make it look like they're actually the model kits.
Yeah. Or it could be someone has done a CAD model of it.
It could well be. 1998 CAD model, yeah. That stuff is out there. Yeah.
So let's just build the assets if you're going to do them more. But yeah, they are definitely digital because, again, at this point, I think most of the strip will be digital. I don't... There'll probably be pencils and then he's going in and it's doing digital painting rather than doing acrylics and gouache on board. Just you can tell by the smoke clouds that these are not painted on.
Yes, you can.
Again, not. It's just what the style is. Again, it's clarity of storytelling, and work. And again, as I say, we get our airbrushes and our lens glare a couple of times.
Yeah,
it's kind of the thing is when people incorporate 3D elements into 2D art, it's about how you integrate them is always the thing. Now, there are two ways you can go and do it. Is if you want to make them vastly different to stand out, that works as well. To go back to Transformers is if you look at to go back to Dreamwave specifically, is they went very heavy painterly background and then more cell shaded for the characters, like the cartoon show. So it had an effect. So that kind of approach works when you're putting 3D stuff in, and you take that approach when you're doing 3D into 2D, because you see it with a lot of people who use SketchUp and all that to 3D model scenes and exteriors and that.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest problem with that is they just copy and paste it in the background and then put it there. And when you then have your normally drawn line art, or even if it's done digitally but with digital brushes and that, there's irregularities, there's wobbles, it's not uniform. So you look at a skyscraper, like we know when a building's made, it's absolutely uniform.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? Weather, damage, all that. So it's the things that the smart artist will then go, I've pasted my digital building into it, that I've done my 3D building, I've done Sketch, I've imported it in. I'm now going to go in and mess it up a bit, make it a bit different. It's again, to go back to what you're like. It's like the inhabited universe of Star Wars. Like the first Star Wars film, all of that technology feels real.
Mm-hmm.
It's used. There's scuff marks. There's damage. There's wear and tear. Where you contrast it with the Phantom Menace, everything's shiny.
Yes.
Now, that was a deliberate choice because it's meant to be Golden Age to like horrible stuff, but by the same token, they didn't look as satisfying.
No,
like the Imperial the ships from the New Republic. Like the best thing that looked at was the pod racing, because that was the very much that it's damaged, it's worn, it's built, it feels lived in,
real.
So you're looking at when you use your digital art. Now, again, there are people who will do 3D comics. It's not anything new. Your mileage may vary on whether it's any good or not. But again, people are digitally sculpting in things like Blender, ZBrush, and what have you. So it's no less or more valid than someone doing it properly. But how you incorporate it, how you use it.
I think what happens here is that what Kev's managed to do is find a way to get these things to fit in so they don't stand out. They look like they've got big, chunky weight to them, but they don't stand out as being from another reality, which is sometimes what happens. I mean, I think that's all to do with the way that you've got that fog over the top and everything like that.
You incorporate it and you blend it into the art, and you make it part of it rather than, again, it's no different from back before when people would just take, and to go back to your friend and mine, Todd McFarlane.
Mm-hmm.
You go to a lot of his cityscapes, there are heavily photostated pictures that have just been blown up and Xeroxed.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, if you look at some of the ones in Batman Year 2, he stole them from Akira.
Yeah,
yes, definitely one of the spreads, he's nicked the background from Akira. I have no problem with that because of the way, I say, the Wallywood article, why draw what you can trace, why trace what you can copy? Why trace what you can't copy? Just do it.
Yeah.
And again, you're doing these things on a monthly grind, so there's that element of things need to be done. Shortcuts will always be taken.
It's
Greg Land. That's the thing. Greg Land used to be able to draw.
He did, yes. That's true. That's absolutely true.
So when Greg Land went to cross-gen, and then after cross-gen became, it's like, oh, Greg, what porn mag have you been reading this month? What WWE wrestler have you been looking at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
but we can go on that then, so we won't. But I was
going to say, let's not get into cross-gen, because we will be here for a long, long time, because I have very, very intense thoughts and feelings about cross-gen.
And also, let's not talk about Greg Land, because I will go off on a rant for a while.
So if you want to hear those things, there's a Patreon that'll be open.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we'd probably get taken off Patreon for the language I'd be using in it. So
I mean, same. In my case, it'd be cross-gen. Cross-gen.
So we're left at the end of this part of Demon of Fury with, as I say, we know Ephrail's still alive. We'll find out how next issue, and again, we'll then go into further in terms of what does she have the taint of chaos about her? Is it some divine intervention from the Emperor himself, away in his golden throne? He's not dead. Honest, he's not dead.
It's like 95% dead. It's just that 5% that's still alive that the Golden Throne's doing real pissing him off. But yeah, I mean, this is just another really good episode of Demonofuge. It's brilliant. It's solid as hell work, and long may it continue, because right now this is the best thing that's coming out of Warhammer Monthly.
Yeah. And so we're going to move on to, before we go to the next strip, we have
Excited.
A letters page.
Yes.
Now we're going to temper this. So for those that aren't reading along with us, and I'm now about to ask you, why aren't you reading with us? Do you just want to hear us talk about a random comic you've never read? In which case, that's a bit odd. Now I want to know more about your motives. Why?
And you can contact us at fluffandhammer@gmail.com with your thoughts and your feelings and what you want to say about this entire journey that me and Andy are on.
Yeah, I'd be baffled. But as I talked about, when we go back to, and we're going to have to invoke the contents page again and the two, because we talked about the rich tradition of UK comics having fictional editors / letters page hosts. So Lord giveth a letters page, and with that joy, he taketh away by putting the two hosts as your letters answerers.
Well, yes, which is kind of what I was expecting to happen, to be honest with you.
From day one, that's what we were getting.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff here that goes on, which I kind of want to... I'm going to just quickly say, before we get into this, I am in no way wanting to punch down at all, ever, because that's not fair. And the people who are writing these letters in, they're probably quite young. So I'm not going to make fun out of anybody in the letters page.
There is also, the letters will get cropped as well. So a big thing
massively.
There'll be vast bits of it that they'll be taking into it. So we're not going to comment on any of the letters. It'll be more, we'll comment on the letters answers as we go if there's anything of interest. As it stands, what they've wisely done is it's the KLC boys doing the letters answering, because the Space Marine is doing a little bit we'll come to in a second. There's nothing much to say about letters. They're not giving you any hints as to what's coming soon.
No.
So there's not really much to say about the letters.
No. I was going to talk about the letters page as a whole, because there's what you've got here is 3 letters. Is it 3? Yes, 3. From various people. And if you are somebody listening to this who had a letter published inside Warhammer Monthly, please get in contact, let us know, because it'd be cool to hear from you, see how long it took to get these things published and all those types of things. But what you've got here is the first letter is, I absolutely love your stories. They are the best and coolest. I would like to see, give us a list of things you'd like to see. I especially like Blood Quest and Titan from Jonathan Hansel. The second one is, while in all other respects, Demonofuge is truly excellent, there seems to be a little bit more confusion regarding where it's set, which is a good letter, actually, because it's a question of, can I get some more information about where, the order of this story? That's a cool one. And then the last letter, there's 4, yeah. The third letter is just a short note to congratulate you on another fine issue of Warhammer Monthly. I've been really impressed with Darkblade and Demonofuge. One of these things is not like the other. And then the last one...
He wants them in graphic novel at a later date, which is something GW will do.
Well, from Caroline Strahan. No answer from that one, because that's much more like it. This chap sounds like an eminently sensible fellow. So what you've got out of these is a nice little collection of letters. And I think that's the important thing to say here, that as much as they're all positive, for the most part, they're not the same letter again and again and again. And it does feel like they're from people rather than being made up, which is something that did happen occasionally in these. I
often find that specifically the very first letters page, normally, of a lot of UK books, mentioning no names, because I'm not going to drag on the titles in question, but I know for a fact there are certain comics that I've collected that the letters were absolutely made up.
Oh yes,
and have been told so by the people involved. Not naming names, but I know they were done because they needed the letters out there.
Yeah.
It's not difficult to spot them when you spot a trend, but you can see which.
Yes.
It's usually just until they get enough in.
Yeah, because you've got to fill the space.
That's your left hand of the page. On the right, we have your Space Marine guys basically going, he's saying, I'm thinking I'm going to make some models of some of these characters. Who do you want? And asking people to send suggestions in, or as we like to call it, market research. Now, there are 8 options here. So you've got Cal Jericho and Scabs. So they present you with the... And it's also very telling the order they put them in. So you're generally going to lead with the ones you want. So they're clearly angling for Cal Jericho as the one. Because you're going to put him up front. Also because he's probably the one best suited to a model, because you can drop him in a rule set into Necromunda very easily, and probably get much more out of it than any of the others. This is not a knock, but you're going to get Leonatus. That's just a Blood Angel captain. You're just going to give him a new head. Cloten is just Blood Angel Marine that's going to go the Black Rage. Again, not a huge amount of work needed for that. Ephraim Stern just looks like a Sister of Battle. Like, it's not a knock. They've quite wisely went with, this is the design of the Sisters of Battle. She looks like the John Blanche illustration. Again, it makes sense. Inquisitor Hand, you could do that, but there's not really any rules for Inquisitors by this point. You kind of had them in the second edition in the Warhammer sort of book for 40k. And I think they're cheap, but you don't really have a set of active rules at this point you can actually use anyway. So, like, here's a cool model. Darkblade would just be, well, he looks like a Dark Elf.
He does.
And again, Spite, his cold one, that's just a cold one.
Yeah.
You don't really have to make new models for him. You just basically take a Dark Elf, give him a sword and a wee bit, chuck him on a cold one. There you go. Here's Darkblade. I'm surprised they didn't, knowing how much Games Workshop likes money for doing very little.
Well, I was going to play a little game here. Who got miniatures?
So I'm going to say right off the bat, well, I know for a fact that Cal Jericho got one.
Yeah, he did.
I am going to say Stern got one as a limited edition.
She did 3 years ago.
I'm going to say Inquisitor Hand, probably.
No. Darkblade got one as well. That's it. The Stern one came with an Eldar, which I assume happens later on in the story. I cannot remember. BloodQuest got no miniatures. Scabs never got a miniature. I don't think Spite ever got a miniature either. I think Darkblade was just by himself.
Again, any cold one will do.
Signed to any dream will do.
Yeah, and so again, they're basically saying, if you've got your own suggestions, let us know. Here's the address to write to. And then also you've got another staple, which used to be sadly gone from the pages of 2000 AD, but was always my favourite, which was every issue had a wee coupon you could cut out and send back to them to say, what's my favourite story? What's my least favourite story? And this one they're also asking, what do you play? And what's your age? Again, these are the ways, the marketing tools that comics loved to do, and it's nice to see it. And even at this point, 2008 long since dispensed with that. I'm pretty sure that had gone by probably 92, 93 even.
Yeah, I would have said so.
I'm sure, at the very least, when Dave Bishop's running the show, that's definitely gone. We don't have that again. So it's a nice, quaint throwback. But this was how you would do it. It goes into, it's the same thing. Like, for example, if you've listened before, you know what I love wrestling is. Wrestling would often encourage people to write in or phone in and give details. That's so we've got a marketing list that we can send stuff to and also sell on.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So these are the bits. So it's absolutely a throwback to UK comics in its pomp. This entire page. The letter, they're not as hateful as they are on the contents page.
No. I think because they're able to be characters, that they don't just take up space. They're actually doing something here.
I say my favourite letters page from UK comics will always be Transformers, because depending on who the Transformer answering it was, would depend how you get. But you would get quite a... When Soundwave was doing it, there was a lot of talking down. Grimlock would be quite dismissive, and also Dreadwind and Darkwing. And also, it would depend on... Now, this would always be a member of the editorial team would do it. But you can have fun with it, because you can let a question go in that and have a little bit of a laugh. Clearly, they're not doing too much here. They're in character, but they're not being rude or dismissive.
No.
You do have that. You do have that option if you decide to publish a letter that's got a stupid question in it.
Yes. Demonic Fusion.
And you would, again, the UK, that was, again, both 2000 AD, because Stark would do it, and so would whoever's doing the Transformers, would just basically go, yes, and the person responsible has been suitably punished.
Yeah. I always like the Megadroid in Sonic the Comic, and the humans, and the human in charge who has made this mistake has been summarily punished. You just get the feeling that you've taken him out back and shot him, haven't you?
See, at least with Tharg, it was always they'd get a Regelian hotshot, or in Transformers, you'd be hooked up to the variable voltage harness. Or as we call them, electric chairs.
So moving on then, we'll get into Shadowfast, a wonderful little tale. So script by Michael Brown, art by Simon Harrison, and letters by David Pugh. Is Michael Brown a name that you're familiar with, Andy?
No, not at all.
No, me neither. I had a quick look to see if I saw anything about him or what he's done, but couldn't quite work it out. So I don't know if that's an actual person or if it's a Dreamwave-style amalgamation of people.
Again, the UK comics industry has a wide tradition of nom de plumes and pseudonyms, because certain people will be writing more than their fair share of the comic. Because you have 2000E being very, very big for that. As John Wagner and Alan Grant would be there, as specifically T.B. Grover would be that, and also the fantastic F. Martin Candor, two of their pseudonyms.
I like that one. That's an amazing name. Oh, dear me. Right, so Shadowfast. It's a tale of elves and beastmen, basically. What we have here is a small group of Bretonians out on the foothills of the northern range of the vaults. Beastmen are attacking. Elves are coming out and doing a lot of damage. As in the middle of the battle, one elf shouts, "Revenge!" and strikes out in a huge, glorious, art-filled piece of vicarious viscosity. I try my best to not lose it at this picture, but I do every single time I've looked at it. Glory to Nurgle! Up there! Who the hell is that?
I'll just say, yeah, you've just got the humans beset by... So we now know it's Nurgle. Nurgle is the power here we're dealing with, which I was hoping at that point, yes, let's see some horrific Nurgling stuff from Simon Harrison.
Yeah. Well, is there anybody more suited to drawing some Nurgly goodness?
John Hicklinton, I would say, who who we talked about previously. Those are the two I'd be looking for.
It's funny, isn't it, that up till now we've got Nurgle. Khorne is the only Chaos Power that hasn't really turned up anywhere.
Yeah. But we will see another one coming up.
Yeah. Let the dance begin as the War Dancer starts just systematically destroying the Beastmen in glorious, murderous ballet. An elf blade for my soul, an elf soul for my blade, says a champion who is looking weirdly orcish.
So you have, as it's going, that you're getting the narration from the War Dancer basically saying he's came for revenge, only to find his praise found itself another destiny, but the vengeance will be mine alone.
Are you so eager for death, chaos scum? You stand alone, elf, and you are nothing as to us. Where are you going? Cowards, traitors, he is but one. But a War Dancer? We hadn't bargained on that.
So again, Claws of Chaos. So this guy's your Chaos champion type thing, and he's marked out by quite clearly. He's got the best armor out of the lot of them. The rest are all kind of robes and rags for the more degenerate beastmen. But you do have one that's more the one that says basically he's a War Dancer is more human, so would suggest more a cultist or apostle type, as opposed to being a beast man.
Yeah. And he's got an incredible design. Honestly, the fact he's got like conquistador helmets as his shoulder pads is just it's beautiful. Beautiful is probably the wrong word, but it's just so big and meaty and horrible looking. And then you get a good look at his face, and he is proper Nurgle. Love him. So yeah, they run, and the Nurgle warband leg it as best they can, and the Bretonnians start to ask the War Dancer, "Well, are you all right?" The War Dancer went, "Fuck you! I'm here for blood."
Yeah. So here's where the story switches, because you're thinking he's here for revenge. He's not here for revenge on the Chaos guys. He's here for these ones.
Yes, he turns it round because he is after the Bretonnians, not the Chaos. The Chaos are literally just something that's in his way.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you've got this guy who's just like, you've got Shadowfast. So I am Equios. I am the War Dancer. I am the Deathbringer. Now tell me where they are. Where what are? Don't play all of my kind for fools, human. Very well, we were such fools. Boy, get the horses now, while I kill this cursed elf. Just
yeah. And
idiot.
And he's like, "Yep, I'll kill you." Funnily enough, the War Dancer just puts 2 blades through his trunk. And he's like, "Please spare the boy. He's innocent." And he's like, "Really?" He's like, and he screams like, "No, father." It's like, "No, he tried to stop them killing her." And at that point, the War Dancer is going, "Yeah, all that remains are our horses. He didn't try hard enough." And the boy's pleading for death. And he's like, "Kill me." And he's like, "Nope. Someone must survive to tell all men that Athel Loren is not a place of forgiveness." And he walks off with the horse from whoever has been killed. We don't know yet, because we have a rather lovely to be continued.
Yes, as a starting point, it's a real quick story. It is very, very fast, but there's a lot here. It is rammed through to the rafters. There's you have the introduction of the War Dancer, who jumps down in this wonderful collection of ballet-style poses and graces. Then you are introduced to the Nurgle champion and all the Bretonnians that they're fighting. The fact that the Nurglings leg it because they do not want to fight a War Dancer in the middle of Elven Woods. And then you had to switch around, so you've now got a completely different nemesis for our War Dancer to have to deal with. He is dispatched suddenly because he's a Bretonnian shit farmer. All of his mates are just absolutely destroyed. And you get enough of a story and a background to really cement in that there's forward momentum going on here. Was there this much sport in the killing of my kin? One woman against so many. Is that how you caught her unawares? But this parlor trick will not work on one such as I. Yeah, it's really good. And do you know what's really good about it? It feels like Warhammer.
Yeah. As we've hopped on a lot, it's like we haven't really had much of a flavour into it as what we have. But here we have, you've got... It's nice that we've got... Well, we're making an assumption that these guys are actually Bretonnians, or they may just be whoever, in terms of... But where it's set is Bretonnia, which obviously a lot of the woodlands around Bretonnia are elven forest.
Yeah.
We don't know whether these are actual Bretonnians of any great stature, or they could be anybody from the old world as such. However, they don't feel like knights or anything chivalric. You can see that so it's very much, are they sort of peasants, reaver, some kind of warband? It's not quite made abundantly clear in it. They're clearly thieves of some description.
Yeah, brigands and rogues of various descriptions.
What you have is we're clearly setting up, as the story goes, is the Beastmen all look suitably horrific, as I would expect from Simon Harrison. Nastor Rak, the named champion of Nurgle, we're clearly going to see him again, because you don't put that much effort on a design.
No, you wouldn't have thought so, would you? But good God, it's such a good design.
Now,
his helmet.
The interesting part is this is going to start answering some questions about how much lead time was in there. If you look at the page when the guy's about to leg it, because he says, "But a War Dancer, we hadn't bargained on that," Simon Harrison signed the page, and 97 is when he did that.
Huh, he missed that.
It's a Simon Harrison page. Of course, I was going to be pouring over this in what can only be described as your forensic detail, because if this is your first episode, I absolutely love Simon Harrison. He is, I say, just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And in the interest, this is entirely analog. This is all paint and inks. Quite a bit of toothbrush splatter for some of to get some of the dappled effects and bits. Glorious. It's so kinetic.
Yes. It really is. I mean, everything has movement and weight to it. It's so well done. So, I mean, there's a picture in one of the corners where the elf has just kind of thrust out a spear and just got the guy right in the side of the head and neck. You can see the movement in every single part of it. It is brilliant. That's somebody who knows how the anatomy of muscles and sinew works. You know, it's really good.
Yeah. One other thing is we also know, based on where this clearly either they didn't tell Simon what the page dimensions were, or Warhammer Monthly was originally going to be more UK sized, because you'll notice you have the leaf branching on the top and the bottom either side.
Yes.
So this tells me potentially that the format for Warhammer may not have been baked in, or potentially this was produced for Inferno.
Possibly Inferno, yeah.
Inferno would probably have led to this, but obviously would have been done at much smaller scale and would not have looked anywhere near as good.
Mm-hmm. Which would explain the sort of the way that the story is, because one of the interesting things I found about Shadowfast was that we knew this was coming from issue 0.
Okay.
Yeah, it was advertised in issue 0. In 7 months' time, you're going to have this story starting, and that always seemed a really weird one to me.
That it could also be that they may have been waiting on the last part. We don't know. Yeah. As we go along in terms of where the signature is, he's not gone into month, but so we clearly know this has been done at the very least 9 months before this drops to the shelf.
Yes, which then gives me the idea, and the way that the story is told, that this was something that was done, and you think you're probably right, it's probably done for Inferno, and then they went, no, we actually want you to continue this. We want you to make this into something a bit bigger. It'll be interesting to find out.
So we don't, again, what we get in terms of this is, as we said, is that you've got your Wood Elf War Dancer, so you finally have something that's not a Dark Elf in the book, but no less dangerous, no less terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's one of those things that elves, especially Wood Elves in Warhammer, they're never treated as weird and unearthly and wrong as they should be. Yeah, they just become fast humans or arrogant humans. But the Wood Elves, the High Elves have it as well, but the Wood Elves they're a breed apart completely. They're not 100% of this earth.
Yeah.
Well, it should be terrifying.
Yes. Which again, you've got that. So you're one War Dancer taking out all of those guys in close combat. Now, as they look like, as I say, they don't look like anything other than sort of Reavers / Brigands. Easily enough to do. Shocking that the Chaos Forces lost their leadership check so quickly. That's some piss poor dice rolls, boys.
Well, especially as they've got some proper beastmen in the back as well, so they should have a fairly decent leadership skill. But no, still failed it with the Chaos Lord. I really hope Nasta Rak gets a lot of screen time, because honestly, that's such a horrible, gooey design. Again,
it's a case of you're like, it's nice when you get the Chaos one not being I'm just going to fight for the sake of it. It's like, I don't have to. I was fighting these guys. You've just turned up. There's no benefit in me taking you on right now. So I'll leg it.
Yeah, I love the little cultists who are just like, fuck this, I am out of it, yeah. But I think my favourite person in the entire, I say person lightly, my favourite character in the entire thread, in the entire strip, is the Beastman who has got a mallet that he's just hammered spikes into in the background.
What, lad?
It's just like, you, mate, you understand. You know what you're doing. It's ridiculous. I love it.
I have a weapon that can bludgeon and kill. How can I improve it? I can make it stabby as well.
I can make it stick to people.
But yeah, so
It's really good. It's really, really good.
As I say, it's brisk, it's to the point. Again, you've got clear motivation for the character. A nice little... I love the slight inversion, because you're going into it, reading it, and your expectations are being set up that he's there because the Chaos Band have done something, because Chaos are the ones that do all the bad things. The humans are the scumbags in this one, and so he takes all of them bar one out.
Yep.
Leaves them there to spread word that, our forests are not a place of forgiveness, and they're not safe for you.
I was wondering do you think the son's going to come back at some point, but he's never named, so he probably isn't.
I don't think so. He's there just to basically... You could see him probably being name-checked if the War Dancer finds himself in a human settlement nearby.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we heard tale of you from such and such, but he's just there to kind of... It's kind of putting the cap on. This guy is... Clearly has his own his moral code and what he's going to do, and clearly has a set of principles and what he's going to do, and knows that fear is a very good propaganda tool, as unfortunately we know full well in the real world. But it's like, it's all well and good being very, very capable. If he will tell a tale of one war dancer took out all these beast men and all of my troop without taking a shot. Stay away from their woods.
Stay away from Athelloren, because there's some mad bastards in there you do not want to mess with. I love the shifts that the story takes. It's a very, very short, because it's a WHAM monthly strip, so it's very short, but it manages to hit so many story beats so quickly, ranging from you've got the battle at the beginning. Here comes an elf running through the forest. Glory to Nurgle! Who the hell is that? Stupid human, crunch, crunch. And just absolute knackering of the beastmen, who then turn tail and run. And it's nice seeing the picture of the beastmen screaming the die that we saw way back in issue 0. It's like, oh, okay. So that's where it fits into the strip. That's cool.
Yeah. So, and again, you have the ending with he's retrieved the horse of whoever has been killed. Is he going back to Athelloren? Is there anyone else involved in it that got away? We don't know. What were they doing in it? And again, you don't know. What were they doing in Athelloren? Why did it happen? So these are probably things to discuss and to find out in the next installment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you don't. It's wonderful because you don't need to know these things. These are the things that get left hanging in the air to examine as the strip goes along. Or
is it that, I say because I don't remember it, it's been that long, and I'm really enjoying it. Is it that him sparing the Nurgle boy going to come back and bite him in the ass?
Yeah.
And have the Force of Chaos go and track him down, or go whoever his, because the Nastarak doesn't feel like the boss. He feels like the boss's underling.
Yes.
So you have that feel of he'll go back. It's like, what, one war dancer? Go back and avenge it and don't come back type thing.
Yeah. I am really happy with the name check of Kurnus. Kurnus sent me for blood. Yeah, it's nice having Kurnus the Hunter being mentioned somewhere.
It would be nice if they just went, where's my... In the old days of comics, you would have had an editorial box with a Kurnus. He's the patron deity of the war dancers.
Yes, actually, that's a good shout. Oh,
again, every issue is somebody's first issue. You're assuming that people... Again, I think what has become clear now is this is not being really aimed at the casual reader.
No, it's not.
Because if you would have, by now, we'd have seen a little bit of course correct in terms of editorialising little bits and making it clear. So they're basically gambling that enough of our fan base read comics, we can make money off of this.
Yeah.
And I think this is what hurts, and probably following on from our discussion with the last one, this is what hurts Warhammer set stories the most, because they are fantasy that's taken from the pages of Tolkien and Moorcock.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be telling us more about it. Without the lore, it's not making a connection, whereas the 40k stuff, the 40k centric stuff, is easy enough to extrapolate from the material.
Yeah.
From what's there. Like, we really don't know.
It is one of the reasons I like Age of Sigmar so much, because it is a lot more show don't tell in the fiction that you get. You do get hints of the background, you do get explanations of, well, especially in the sort of the new Gotrek books where he's been spat out into the mortal realms. He's running around going, what the fuck is all this going on? God, what? But I agree with you on, especially at this point in Warhammer Fantasy Battle, it had a tendency to not explain itself very well, part of the ever-decreasing circles that it found itself in.
Yeah, and again, as I say, this book is not writing to bring new people in, it's writing to an existing fan base. I think that's now abundantly clear, and it's their decision, again, and there's not much we can do about it now because it's a decision they made more than 20 years ago.
Yeah.
However, I always think the minute you commit to writing to an existing readership, you've lost something. Because you can do it very easily. So you should be trying to be as accessible to everything, but this feels very much like a nah.
Which then, of course, ties into, especially for Shadowfast, if we're right and this was done for Warhammer Monthly as a one-and-done story, it would make sense for it not to explain anything.
Yeah.
Because it's in Inferno as a one-and-done, because Inferno was an impenetrable experience. It wasn't sold to be introducing it to the masses.
Yeah, because you were only getting it in Games Workshop stores or model and wargaming shops anyway. So you weren't suddenly going past on a W.H. Smith going, Inferno, up.
Yeah, exactly. But that would make that's another tick in the corner of this was originally done for Inferno, I think.
We'll know more next issue when we see it. But as I said, art 10 on 10, love it. I can wax lyrical about Simon Harrison's greatness all day to anyone who wants to listen. And even if you don't want to listen, you're going to have to sit down, strap yourself in. He's good. But just very sinewy, very, lots of fine rendering details. Just the line weight and the balance between white and black is impeccable. Sense of movement is kinetic, and he's doing this violence. And you'll notice that the body types are not. It's not the whole. Everyone looks that same generic comic shape. The War Dancer is muscly, but he's still relatively lithe. Then you've got the Beastmen are brawny, squat.
Mm-hmm.
There's attention to what kind of muscle mass are they going to have. The armour on the Nurgle champion is suitably ornate. Not quite pustuled and corrupt, but again, that could possibly come as they go. And again, depending on how long he's been a champion of Nurgle, but it's a great set of armour. It's very distinct. Again, the more black colour to him contrasts nicely against the War Dancer when they're having their face off.
Mm-hmm. I love the mask for the Chaos Warrior, the Chaos Champion.
So unnecessarily elaborate in the way that all Chaos armour should be.
Yes, exactly. And then you knock the top off, and there's just even more weird ornate underneath it. It's like, oh god! And then you see his actual face, and it's double. Oh Jesus, God, no! Ugh. I love the way the eyes look in this. The eyes have just got such life to them. Yeah, it's really good. Really, really good.
Yep, absolute highlight for me. But again, anytime any new Simon Harrison work is always a highlight to me. So it's kind of I will always look favourably upon it. But I agree, it's a nice economic tale. As I say, you get your setup. We shift the rug out from under you for the last couple of pages to carry things on, and we leave your character. So I'm kind of hoping that it's not kind of a quest of the month story, because we have enough of them.
Yeah, hopefully this expands out into a larger story that isn't just here's the daily adventures of. I keep forgetting the poor elf's name.
I know, it's
Equios. Shadow Dancer.
Yeah. Hi, Dave,
friends of Barry the Bullman. So all in all, really, really good stuff. Recommend this one.
As we touched on, there's not a huge amount to the character right now. He is just basically a figure of vengeance, kind of Clint Eastwood man with no name type thing. But it works for the purposes of the story. We'll again, it's just to be clear, because we need to be even-handed in terms of, will that be enough to sustain our interest going forward? The answer to that is, if Simon Harrison keeps drawing it, for me, 100%. All things forgiven, but that might not necessarily be enough if you do not share my highly refined and cultured appreciation of the arts.
I think for myself, if it ends up being these little short vignettes, I'm not going to have a problem with it because this is such a well-done little vignette of a story. But,
and again, similarly to Cal Jericho as well, which we talked on last episode, in that we're getting just little one-shots to kind of show them off.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
Narrative, so we might go down that path, but we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely we will. Absolutely will. But it's a strong start and one that I'm interested to see where it goes because I remember nothing of this. Absolutely nothing.
I can't say that I've not read this in 20 plus years, so.
Right then.
From the Sublime to an oddly placed 2-page recap of Darkblade. The reason we see that is because it's placed right before Blood Quest, and then Darkblade follows after that.
Yes, it's a really odd place to have this. However, I'm going to put down that this is better than the strip that it comes from. Because what this does... Don't you laugh at me. What this does, and it does it really well, is give you some backstory. So you kind of get an idea of where it is, the Warhammer world, what's going on in it, how Malice fits in. You get to find out about Nagaroth, the Tower of Zark, and it's all this stuff's here. It tells you about the 5 unholy relics. It's really good, solid work in getting across the idea of the world, the story, and the character. I just wish it was for a better strip.
Well, what I'm going to say to you is, while there's a lot of content there, I'm going to pull this apart a little bit. So the Nagaroth thing very much feels like we've clipped a paragraph from Warhammer Armies Dark Elves, which is good.
I'm fine with that.
Began. Tells us absolutely nothing we don't already know.
No, and funnily enough, Spite gets more information.
However, Malice rides his Cold One steed Spite into battle, yet Spite is different. Spite shares the mindless ravening fury of his kind, but somehow has a malign cunning, a glimmering intelligence uncommon amongst the bestial lizard beasts. Malice counts himself blessed by the dark gods to have found such a steed, and Spite is unswervingly loyal to his master. None of this has happened in any of the Darkblade stories we've seen so far, so call bullshit on that.
See, this is something I was going to get into with you. What we've got here, I think, is the realization that Darkblade doesn't wrap up or really create anything as it finishes. And so they found themselves with some pages to spare and went, right, we need to try and burden Darkblade with some information. What can we do? Well, Spite is different to all the other Cold Ones. Right, brilliant, cool. We don't need to have really explained that to anyone. Okay, fair enough.
That very much feels like a snippet from the pitch document.
Yes.
But then you have, let's say, your recap of the series premise. Then we move on to a page that has the Wayne Reynolds art in black and white, and it tells you all about the 5 relics in question, the 4 that Malice has already got.
Mm-hmm.
5th one he needs to get. Sarkhan's a demon prince. Thanks for sharing. Kind of knew that.
Okay, so
why did you put it here?
Yeah.
Honest, but I don't mind. Like I say, it clearly is all. I think it is also partly there is absolutely no reason for anyone to give 2 shits about Darkblade based on what's come. Let's do. But I've no problem with the 2 pages being done. I think that should have been in issue 1.
Yeah,
and I think Titan should have got 1. Blood Quest should have got 1. This is not a new thing. This is quite easy, particularly bearing in mind it's a monthly comic. It gets you out of the way of having to do exposition in a monthly strip. It's one of the best things that the magazine used to do was they would have a 1-page recap, even if you're in part 3 of a story. It would tell you, part 3, where you are. And it gave you a lovely little synopsis of what Dread's world was, in terms of if it was a Dread strip, if it was Anderson, Hershey, whoever.
Yeah.
You got that should have been in every issue since the start. However, why in God's name are you doing these 2 pages and then turning over so we can read about the Blood Angels? I'm sorry. What? And there's no double page spread, so it's not a pagination.
Nope.
That is just
it is baffling placement. Baffling.
It is what I would actually term as rank incompetence.
Yes.
Putting that together, I was like, no, sorry, there is no excuse for that. That should be right at the part. Because it's not like you're doing an advert for a program that's coming on an hour later. If I'm reading something and I'm getting a teaser, when I read over the page, I want to read the thing I've been teased about.
Well, why was this not in, like, the issue where Darkblade didn't turn up? So there was an issue 5, I think it was, wasn't it? Why wasn't this in that?
Or that as well, yeah.
Yeah, that's the type of thing that would have made sense.
Because he still only had 3 relics by that point.
True, yeah.
But even if you're looking at it as like, put it in here, but that needs to be in the before Darkblade.
Yes, it does. It's
that's the only way to describe it. That's a stupid decision.
Mm-hmm. I thought maybe the scan was out of order or something like that.
First off, but they quite clearly tell you, no, you need to skip ahead to read it.
Yeah.
Rather turn the page and see how the first book ends. Because see, even if that had gotten you a little bit of goodwill on Darkblade, you then want to get into it then and there.
Yeah.
Just because. Just ridiculous.
It's what annoys me the most about it is, the information that they give is very much it's a large amount of nothing, but it's a good large amount of nothing. You know, whilst Malice at Darkblade's little section here, and it tells it's pretty much what we already know, and because his character hasn't been developed, there's no character to talk about. So I could have done something there to really push it out. So I do give it a little bit of leeway just because it's trying to give you an idea of the world ahead. But that is instantly burnt down by the fact that the next story, the next page, is Blood Quest.
Yeah.
And it's just, what the shit are you doing?
It's like, how stupid are people? Like, you just kind of go, that's just, someone should have looked at and went, aye, that doesn't need to go there. That needs to go here. There's no earthly reasoning that makes sense for that to be anywhere else other than right before Darkblade.
No, it's
given that you're ending the strip in this issue, it's like, okay, you give it some welly. You've kind of done that by going, oh, it's important. We're going to talk about how it's going to finish.
Yeah.
But before that does, you're going to read about orcs and blood angels.
Oh God, it's like being told about the parting of the Red Sea before you get to watch the last half hour. Goodfellas, it's mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling why and how this ends up being. Even if it was at the very front of it would have been better because you're building up excitement for, or when you get to the end, that's going to be the end of Darkblade. That's the last part of this book. Here's the exciting starting to really get you excited for it. But because of being in the middle of the book, I don't even think this would have been a pull-out. It's just there in the book. It's ridiculous.
So, who'd have thought some feature would have annoyed us more than the contents page?
I know. But it's not just the feature. It's this ongoing grinding of Darkblade as a concept and as a story. And every single time it turns up, my irritation level is just pushed that little bit more. My nihilism grows.
I'm going to suggest an audible here. Normally we would plough in and read the book sequentially, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to go and do Darkblade now, and we're going to come back and end on Blood Quest, because I think that will be a more satisfying experience for both us and the poor beleaguered listeners who are listening to us to rant on about this. So let's rip the plaster off, shall we, Adam? And we'll just...
Let's do it. Let's get into Darkblade. Behold here how the grim tale of Malice Darkblade now concludes. Here in this desolate wood, and deep in the wastes of chaos, as Malice is now fighting Chaos Marauders who look like they have been created straight out of the box set. They are perfectly rendered plastic Chaos Marauders, and it makes me very happy to see them, at least, if nothing else. Malice crushes the skull of one. Ha ha! My lord lies. We've done it, Malice. The last relic is ours, says the demon. That I would care, demon, says Malice. For I am broken, ruined, destroyed. For a year I have done your bidding. Now release me or let me die. I cannot go on. No, Malice, says the demon. You will not. I did not say it was. You will retrieve the last relic, and all 5 to me, so I be free. I will do as you say, in a way that really can't help but read as Frank Welker. I accept your terms. I accept. There, the amulet of Varog. I have a demon, I have them. He takes spite and he runs. He runs back through every single sequence that we've been through in this godforsaken story. He returns back to the temple where his dark elf brethren have turned to skeletons, which is interesting considering the fact that it's all snowy and cold and they should have just been desiccated and frozen. Up the mountain he goes, in, he puts all the relics, he does it, he's done it, he's going to be free, but Zarkin is out. But of course, let the world tremble. Zarkin is free, I am made flesh once more, physical, I live again. Not for long, says Malice. What is it, Malice? Why do you attack me? Do you pretend you have honoured our pact, our freedom? My freedom for yours? I'm not as foolish to think that you'd let me live now. You don't trust me, Malice? You're a demon. Why should I? Fair point, you're right. But then again, now I am free again. I am hungry. Straight he gets a knife into the demon's heart. The demon turns into a Shao Kahn projectile and vanishes off. Dreadfully wounded by the very relics that have freed him, the demon fled. Promethus was alone at last, but even as he rose, he knew there had been a price to pay. He felt an emptiness, a hollowness. The demon had fled, taking parts of the Dark Elf's soul with him. Now Malice Darkblade has a new quest, one he knew might take him to the end of the world and the edges of his lifespan. However, he swore he would not fail. Zarkin would not escape. End of book 1.
See, you made that sound a lot more exciting than it actually was.
Yes, I did.
Now, before we dissect the story as such, I'm going to go back to your rant about the guy, his kinsman. You notice that they're all naked.
Yes, I did notice.
Apart from their hats. I'm going to charitably assume that they were stripped for flesh and body parts. And
yeah, okay.
So I will... That is absolutely fine. So they don't need to be desiccated corpses because someone's had dinner. I mean, to be charitable, he gets the last relic, and it's like, after getting some strength from Zarkan, it's like, now release me or let me die now, I can't go on.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, oh no, it's not as simple as that. You need to do some kind of ritual thing once you get the ritual. Because he hasn't actually claimed the amulet at that point. He says amulet. It's more like a choker.
Yeah, that's not an amulet.
And it's also not a million miles different from the one worn by everyone's favourite barbarian in 2000 AD, Slain MacGroth.
It's actually not. Really isn't. Huh. I wonder if that's a little reference, a little joke.
I think it probably is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so... But again, you've got to your end. There's been no real jeopardy of any note. He's got it, the demon's out, and even then it's like, oh wait, this demon should be able to kill you, but you attack him, you flash the many-pointed star of chaos at him, and it's such the most functional of stories with nothing to get you.
No.
There is no hook. Again, and we know Spite was different because Spite stood around and did fuck all.
Yeah, didn't run away. Didn't try and eat any of the bones.
Just an absolute nothing story.
It's absolutely nothing. I mean, the only real joys I got from this are hearing Malice Darkblade as Frank Welker really made me chuckle. There's just a sequence here where I can just hear the I accept your terms. I accept. Mostly because I don't want Leonard Nimoy to be sullied by being Malice Darkblade. Yeah. I'm okay with Frank Welker's Megatron for some reason, but not Leonard Nimoy's Galvatron. That amused me, and the fact that on the big altar where the entire ceremony is going to take place, that appears to be the Punisher's T-shirt just hanging around in there.
He gets around, doesn't he?
He does. But you're absolutely right. There's at no point we are told that Malice Darkblade is in pain. We are told that he is suffering because of the demon inhabiting him. We are told time and time again that this is a curse. But honestly, prove it to me.
Yeah, aside from the lumpy-looking face.
Yeah, because he's got massive amounts of power. He keeps winning. Yeah, he crushed a man's head whilst inside a metal helmet. I mean, that's kind of impressive.
Yeah, it's just, like I say, the art has done all of the lifting on this strip from start to finish.
Yes.
It's been a lot of love for Kev Hopgood, just in general, but he's the one that's made this readable. This is filler. This is track 9 on the album.
And the album is Saint Anger.
Aye. But it's just very much just, it's a thing. It's here. Yeah. We've done it. So we should put it out there. Nah. This is just nothing.
Yeah, it's disappointing. It's incredibly disappointing. I mean, Malice Darkblade ends up being a big part of Warhammer Fantasy. And this first book of comic is... It's weird because I can't even say... Yeah.
It's just a comic that existed and has... I say there is absolutely nothing here to bring you back unless you want to see more of Kev Hopgood's art. Yeah. There's nothing about that character. There's nothing about his quest now because he's had no personality. The demon has had minimal personality. You just know he's a rock because he's a demon.
Yeah. And he was about to get something for it, and now he's made a powerful enemy.
Yeah.
That would have been something.
I mean, to be honest, this strip just reeks of demon bigotry.
No,
demon's evil.
Well, it depends on your point of view, really.
Exactly. Because, to be fair, the demon's been imprisoned. We've only got unreliable narrators' reasons as to why. He's not actually done anything but help Malice Darkblade not die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just wanted out. He took the first path he got to get out. And the entire time he's helped Malice along the way, and he's been a wonderful friend. Just Malice didn't want a friend.
Yeah. Again, time to open up a dialogue with these demons. Really find out what they're about. Where are our demon outreach programs? We need to be connecting to the lesser demons to stop them becoming greater demons.
Yeah, and as head of the newly formed charity DOP, I intend to create the demon outreach programs to bring demons into the household.
But as we say, I mean, it's the point of knowing, it's especially knowing what Dan Abnett can do.
Yeah.
It kind of makes, like, had this been a writer that either of us were less favourably disposed to, and we're not going to name names because that's just churlish.
Yeah.
But there are enough writers who, if they showed up in the pages, I will grit my teeth and roll my eyes and get through it. But I know, let's say, and as I said, to go back to the first episode, Dan Abnett, there are many Dan Abnetts. For he does lots of stuff, and there's a lot of his work I don't care for. But there's a lot I do, and like I say, a lot of his Games Workshop stuff, and particularly Horus Heresy, has been really good. But this is just, I say, again, functional is all you can say, because it's not bad. That's the thing, it's not a bad story. It's functional and hollow.
Yeah. It needs purpose. What it needs is characterization, basically. Yeah, and I think maybe a big problem from that is having your main protagonist being a dark elf is a difficult thing to do because they are all much of a muchness. Yeah, the dark elves didn't really get any kind of characterization for many years, but do something with him. Yeah. You know, even if there's a page where it starts off and he's like whittling the picture, like a picture of his dad out of a dead tree or something. Give us something that is a character, because as it stands, Malice Darkblade is insufferably dull.
Yeah. It's lovingly rendered, but empty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the end, it signs off at the end with the end of book 1. It's like, could it not have just been the end? Realistically, there is nothing in here that makes me want to see anything more. Because if you want to employ Kev Hopgood, get him to do something else.
Yeah.
I'll cheerfully see him on anything else you want to put out, but there is nothing in this character that warrants any more stories.
No, nothing at all. No.
You've had enough episodes and parts now to do something. All you get at the end was, he's taken a little piece of his soul. How would you know? He's been cardboard since the first episode.
Yeah. Once again, it's just that major issue of you're being told this has happened, but nothing in the character, nothing in the way the character acts around anybody or speaks to anybody or anything like that is showing you that he has any of this happening. You don't know anything about him because he's given you nothing.
Even as he rose, Malice knew there'd been a price to pay. He felt an emptiness, a hollowness. That's the character from... He's taken no joy in anything.
No.
There's been the odd, vague hints of the sniping against the demon, but that's about it.
Yeah.
There's just, let's say, this is a whole lot of...
I honestly think that if the demon had been inside something else, it hadn't been inside him, but had been inside, I don't know, like a floating skull or a relic of some description, something that could have been in the panel with him, you would have had a much better way of having a conversation between the two of them and have something come out of that. But because the demon's inside him, you're not getting anything.
Not really, because you could still look at Rogue Trooper, because again, which is the template for kind of that, is the biochip. So all you would do is just have the biochip symbol on the page.
Yeah.
So you didn't even need to have that. I get that they were in Rogue, his helmet, his backpack, and his gun. So, but the same, you don't really need anything from that. It's just there is nothing there. It's just very much the dictionary definition of that'll do.
Yeah.
I don't want to read any more of Darkblade 2, and it's going to have an uphill battle when it comes back, convincing me that I want to read any more.
Yeah, I'm hoping it stays away for because I'd like to have something else, anything else take its place, because it has really been a struggle. It's been an absolute struggle.
We've got Dwarf Lords.
Yes. Yeah. Which I'm excited by, because it's something that begins with D that isn't Darkblade.
Yeah.
And, it says a lot when I can't even be asked to really take the piss out of him, because there's nothing there. There's nothing to hang a joke on, because there's nothing to him.
It's just, meh. We're free of Darkblade for a while. Let us count our blessings. And let's go back a few pages, and we'll go back and we'll round off this episode with the penultimate instalment of Blood Quest Book 1.
Yeah, man.
And the Imperials are under siege from the Orc Menace. In space, however, the Leonatus and his merry band of Blood Angels have decided to go on a suicide mission and teleport on board the Orc command vessel, because, as we've established, Orcs mass in numbers and are affected by cult of personality, and it's always a leader that gets a warband, and as soon as the leader gets offed, problem solved. The Orcs become less effective and are usually at that point easily disposed of.
Yeah.
Relatively easily disposed of. They are still giant green killing machines.
Yeah, they're still triple-ad bastards.
So you basically have them just going... So you've just got the Blood Angels making their way through the ship a la Space Hulk.
Yeah, that made me happy.
It is very much, except no Gene Stealers this time. It is just very much, we're going through Orcs, and it's like, there's got to be thousands of corridors and chambers. And it's like, don't they teach you anything? It's like, the more than you find, the closer you are to the boss.
Yeah. The more of them you find, the bigger they get, the closer the leader's lair. It's such a great bit of Space Marine logic. I love it.
As he uses his plasma pistol to take out several of them.
I take it back. This isn't Space Hulk. This is Space Crusade. Look at that picture of Clotus. That looks like it came out of the Space Crusade. Man, I'm all in.
And so basically they're following Clotus. He's cutting away through, and one of the other guys goes, Trano goes, but he's possessed by the Red Thirst. And it's like, Leonatus then doing the whole, then truly sanguineous moves in mysterious ways, Trano. Nah, he doesn't move at all, mate. He's been dead for 10,000 years. Like Davis. There's like murals and everything.
He does move. It's because Blogar has his corpse and he's just strung them up, and every now and again just plays some dead sanguineous theatre.
But I say, we then get, for those that don't know, for Blood Angels, they say the Red Thirst is their curse, and it's basically they're vampires.
Yes.
They are possessed of the Red Thirst and the Black Rage, which we'll come to.
What makes me really happy about the Blood Angels in here is that they've all got, like, receding hairlines, and you don't get enough vampires with receding hairlines.
Well, again, Leonidas does have more a kind of a squared off widow's peak.
He does. He has blocky Dracula hair.
Lego Dracula.
Lord Vampire.
Yeah. But basically what so Leonidas is going, it's a sign that Sanguinius is with us. He sends us a madman, one in the grip of his own gene curse to guide us. So they start they barrel through, picking up the pace, taking out orcs right, left and centre. It's one of these where the orcs aren't really any threat, but that's because the real threat's still to come.
Yeah.
So they head to the throne room, and there's lots of there's orc skulls, and quite noticeably a Chaos Space Marine skull as well.
I noticed that.
As well as a normal Space Marine skull.
And an Eldar helmet.
Yes. So, and various skeletons and stuff. And they'll basically come out, so that Leonidas is basically like, come out and face me. He's going to do it one-on-one to get the blade back. And he's there. And he's pointed out, it's like, this isn't the work of orcs. There's horrors here far beyond the imaginations of these mindless creatures. And then we get on the next page the nice the Emperor on the throne shot. Yeah. Lovely in silhouette, as basically the Destroyer makes himself known. Again, as we said, it's a slightly skeletal orc. So suggesting is that, as we said, that the body is being burned out by the chaos power that's within it, which is not uncommon if you're possessed by chaos.
Happens quite regularly. This entire page is glorious.
The lighting on this page is just exceptional.
I've come around to Blood Quest in a lot of ways, but this page, I want this page on my wall. It is gorgeous.
I am going to a thing in Pollock Shaw's in 2 weeks' time as we record this, and Colin McNeil is one of the guests. And if I have cash left from TFN, he usually has art. I will probably be on the look for some stuff. So
yeah. That sounds like a damn good plan to me. Jump over the table. Where's your Blood Quest stuff?
But he might also have sketches of Strontium Dog stuff, so you know. But no, this page, and again, Leonidas just opens up with a bolt pistol, and no effect. The orc just laughs as blood leaks from him. So the shots will hit their mark, but he just gets up and laughs. And
what I really like about how he stands up is he doesn't stand up like an orc. He's not hunched. He's standing straight up.
Yeah, he rises to his feet, and it's just tall, erect, and ready to go, and goes. And then they realise it's not a demon, it's a creature of the warp. And then you see Traitor Marines at last. World Eaters have gone.
Yeah, you got the big buddy ears. I'm very happy.
With bolt pistols and area, I couldn't see a chain axe anywhere.
No. I mean, there might be some in the.
But again, not all of them needed to have had the butcher's nails.
No, when this was written, the butcher's nails weren't a thing.
Yeah, it's just Kharn was a Madian.
Yep, I love the Destroyer and the way he speaks. Because this is proper 40k.
Yeah. So, your Black Crusade. So, do we have ties to Abaddon or a bad one? If you want to say his name properly, because that's how it is. It is actually a bad one. I know you've heard people say it's meant to be a bad one. No, a bad one.
Well, they chose it because Abaddon is the Princess of Hell.
No, bad one.
But it's always pronounced. Well, it was originally always pronounced as Abaddon.
It's a bad one.
Yep, it's a great joke.
It's a bad one, the Destroyer.
Yes,
the spoiler or whatever. But yeah, so you kind of go, here it is, Black Crusade, so right deep into your lore, so you're going, as I say, Chaos Space Marines, Horus Heresy, the Great Betrayal, all that stuff. And again, still keeping orcs front and centre, which I like, because orcs are, again, you're still second edition here at this point, I think.
We're just into third, literally just into third now.
As this will have been done, second was the one on the shelves, and it was Space Marines for orcs.
Yeah.
With your cardboard dreadnought.
I have those scanned and ready to print, actually.
Can it be a cardboard dreadnought? But yeah.
I've got this entire idea of modelling a load of orcs holding different bits of the cardboard dreadnought up and then just running that as a dreadnought.
Yeah. But yeah, as we said, Blood Quest has ramped up as it's gone on. It's kind of, as I say, it has been a quest of a quest, but you're now at the point of, okay, so I know technically you were looking for that blade, but right now that is no longer the priority. You have an infestation of chaos.
Yes. And the entire idea that, Leonatus is the reason the blade was taken was to pull Leonatus here, so Leonatus can be possessed by the demon. I think we found that out in the last issue, didn't we?
Yeah.
But it's nice to have it kind of put on full display here.
Well, the thing is, we found out about it last issue. Leonatus had no idea about it.
That's true, yeah.
This is because it's sometimes fun to let the reader know ahead of schedule what the protagonist or protagonists need to know. Just because it gets you get to have your cake and eat it. So we get the reveal, but then you get to have the moment of the character getting the reveal. Wow.
Yeah. Oh God, it's good. It's honestly, I don't think I've turned around a comic as fast as this in a very long time. Well, at least not to the positive. I've turned around to comics very quickly on the negative after a good start, but then dropped off. But this one is something that I really wasn't feeling to begin with. Where it is now and how it comes to the end, it is incredible work. It's so good.
Yeah. Again, just it's a slow burn and ramping it up. Doesn't always work, but has done in this case. I was more kindly disposed to this and willing to give it a bit of time than, let us say, Darkblade, because there was clearly, while there wasn't as much jeopardy, wasn't a huge amount of jeopardy, he was losing Marines hand over fist early on, so you could see there was a cost to it, which you weren't getting in the Darkblade. So, but
that's true.
And again, so basically we now have the whole point of, your quest is to get that blade, but that's now secondary.
I think a big part of it as well is that Colin McNeil's art, he's kind of managed to get his head around how Space Marines look. And he's got the heft of them a lot better now as well. They look absolutely brilliant. Everything about how they move just works so much better for me now than it did at the beginning.
Again, a not uncommon thing in terms of, as I said in earlier episodes, artists will often take a little while to find their feet and find their rhythm, and particularly also in terms of with the writers as well. So you'll find as they go, things will evolve, notes will go back and forward between Gordon and Colin in terms of, here's what needs to be done. Do you want to do this? And it's also allowing the artist free reign at times to kind of, you can tell this better than the writer can.
Yeah.
So there's elements of that. So it's, now you know full well that now we know Blood Quest gets book 2 and book 3.
We do, yeah.
That, because you're looking at this, but to take a step back and look at this in isolation and try and look at it with isolation, there isn't any real way that this story ends without a book 2. Reading it, even looking at it, because if we were to cap this off in one part next week, it'd be very, very pat, very quick, and ultimately unsatisfying. So you kind of know right away we've just hit the end of book 1 is the end of Act 1.
Yes, yeah, and when you compare that to Darkblade, where it feels like the end of book, is it just ending? Because in the same with Titan, actually, where Titan felt like it just came to an end. It didn't feel like a natural drawing point for the end of Act 1. This feels like it's ramping up for a finale, for an end of series finale. Yeah.
You're going to get a resolution of sorts and a cliffhanger or a hook to get you on, because rather telling that there hasn't been a trace of the blade yet.
Yes. I was actually looking around the throne to see if I could see it anywhere.
As well. I was looking to say, is that blade kicking a bit there? Is there some big shrine for it? So it's like, yeah, so
the blade is not here. It's somewhere else.
So what you have here is there's a demon that's in here. there is clearly going to be the Chaos Advisor we saw last issue, who is remarkably not present on this one, is your guy that will become your threat, is my guess. Try not to remember too much, but I can only remember Bob's anyway, but he's going to be your main threat. The likelihood is he's the one that's going to bugger off with Blade.
Yeah, I would have thought that's going to be the case. And the end of book 2, sort of reading between the lines here, is going to be fighting. Well, the way this ends, to me anyhow, is that it's going to be fighting a Chaos Marine who is using the Blade as his personal weapon.
This feels to me that Chaos will be the enemy going forward.
Yes, yeah.
The Orcs have been a means to an end. We know this body's going to die by the end of next part.
Yeah.
That's just it. What we're looking at is, okay, so, but you won't be redeemed. You've got other stuff that needs to be done.
Yeah, it'll be an expansion out. The story will move into as long as it's done well, the story will move into a bigger arena.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward. I'm honestly looking forward to it. If you had said to me back in issue 1 that I would be really excited for the end of Blood Quest, I would have just looked at you. No.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. But honestly, it has become just a pinnacle of the book. Yeah. I keep looking back at this page. This page is gorgeous. Everything about it is just amazing. I love the dripping.
Yeah. And the subtle, like I say, when he's rising up, you've got just the little bits of blood dripping off him. Like I say, telling you, he's hit, every shot hit him square in the trunk, but it doesn't matter.
I mean, it's a big bloody target. It'd be very hard to miss. Yeah, no, Blood Quest, man. I'm so happy to have been wrong. Really am.
As we say, we take no joy in, as I say, in kicking stuff. I generally like to talk about stuff I like, or I'm enjoying, or I'm getting something from.
Mm-hmm.
As I say, Darkblade, at least we have some lovely art from Kev Hopgood,
and Billy the Bullman, Barry the Bullman.
Bullman, but as I say, it's what you don't want to kick things. Is like if I don't enjoy something, I won't enjoy it. And the thing is, with it being an anthology, you're not always going to enjoy stuff anyway, and that's
of course not.
If you're going into an anthology book of any stripe, you're not going to like everything. I mean, it's nice in it that you do get occasional golden age periods where everything in the book is going to be all singing and dancing. That just means it's everything in the book is to your taste. Doesn't necessarily mean, because, like I say, Darkblade's not bad. It just has nothing to it.
Yeah.
I'd argue we haven't had any bad stories in terms of, I've not read anything when that story's shockingly bad. The art's really bad. There's technical stuff about the lettering I don't like, but that's just, to be honest, that was a thing of the time. It does get better. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
And it's a product of its time. But there's nothing in this.
Outside of the Curse of Devoir, I think there's very little which I would turn around and say is god-awful.
Well, I think as we touched on with the Curse of Devoir, you can listen to the last 2 episodes if you haven't, that was the least Warhammery of the tales we've had, and it also was designed to be in colour, not black and white.
Yeah.
And we would not have been so critical of it had those things been addressed. But
yeah. But they weren't, and I got angry, and I apologise.
Okay. I think I'll still see Demonifuse as slightly better on basis of that.
Yes,
I've enjoyed every episode so far, but I would say Blood Quest has shown how a story can grow and progress across it, and it's done a far more effective job than either the other 2 long-standing strips in Titan and Darkblade of keeping you engaged. We'll need to see how Demonifuse stacks up, but it's probably worth when we get the stories to the end of their respective books, is we'll probably revisit and have a little rank of them all.
Yeah, I think that once we get to, 10, so either 10 or 11, I can't quite remember, it might be a good idea to just stop for a few minutes and just have those conversations, just to see where we're at. I think 10 will probably be a good one to do.
Once you've yeah, and it's a case of at that point you can kind of say what's actually worked, what hasn't.
Yeah. I think I think that would be quite a good one to do, actually. Yeah.
Just a best of Warhammer Monthly.
Best of whamming.
Yeah, Wham's greatest hits.
Yeah, that wouldn't get me in shit on YouTube at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have Club Tropicana playing in my head right now.
Oh, the drinks are free. Yes, it's a good time. Why do I know the lyrics?
Because you're of the same age as me, and it's unavoidable.
Well, due to this show, I often, when I'm walking back from dropping my son off at school, find myself just singing, "Bad boys stick together forever, sad boys."
You all need to if you're not a fan of George Michael's music, what's wrong with you? He's great. Also, an all-round, what a good guy he was. Put my best mate as co-writer on all of the songs to ensure that he gets royalties.
Yep. No, it's a solid guy, just from start to finish. Right, so that was issue 7 of Warhammer Monthly. Normally we'd do a little kind of wrap-up, kind of automatically already done it.
Yeah.
As we've come to the end. So I think the best thing to do here then is, if you guys out there are listening to this and you want us to, if you want to tell us about things that you remember from Warhammer Monthly, if you want to tell us how you're feeling about our journey through Warhammer Monthly, if you want to engage with us in any way, shape or form, you can do so. We are on Blue Sky at the Fluff and Hammer. We are on Discord. We're on Facebook. Just search for the Fluff and Hammer. And if you want to join the Discord, the links will be below this show. You can email us at fluffandhammer@gmail.com as well if you want to send in anything at all about your memories of this, what you're feeling about the show now that we're 7 issues in, all that type of thing. It'd be good to hear from you all. It really would be.
Yeah.
And
tell us, if you were reading this back in the day, was this your gateway? Where were you in your Warhammer journey as such, in terms of how deep into the hobby were you? And if you can recall whether this landed with you or didn't.
It's actually a really good question, that one, because I'm about a year away from my first drop out of Warhammer. 9 would have been about the time where I dropped out for the first time.
2000's where I drop. But I'm waning now. This is the start of me becoming a little bit less engaged with it.
Yeah. About a year off, and then I come back in about 2006 for a few years.
Don't come back to the games, but start reading the Horus Heresy books for a while.
Yeah.
Would you like to guess what book I stopped reading them at?
Would it be Battle for the Abyss?
No. I got beyond that.
Mechanicum.
Correct.
Yeah, because Mechanicum's not a book. It's not a story. There are words on a page, and the words are in order, and each sentence makes sense within itself, but it is not a narrative in any way, shape, or form.
But as I say, I would occasionally pick about the odd White Dwarf here or there, but in terms of the hobby, I was done until during lockdown.
Yeah.
Folks are, in terms of purely to just see how this is, and also, like I say, where are you in the journey about how this is working? Are you loving this? Is it just you're getting it because it's a Games Workshop thing? Because there is an element of completism kicks into play when you're in the hobby. It's very expensive, but it can happen.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I think at this point in time, that Black Library is not exactly churning books out.
Yeah, it's a manageable commitment.
Yeah, no, very much so. I mean, you've got this, you've got Inferno, and you've got White Dwarf coming out. So, I mean, all in all, that comes to, was White Dwarf in 98, $4.99.
Safe, probably still a $5 or less than a $5, maybe?
Yeah, definitely less than a $5.
$5 or under.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably still at the $4.99. I mean, I can actually find that out, but I'm not going to do it right now because I'll end up breaking something. Yeah, so that I seem to remember we was a $5. No, sorry, not one. Inferno was a $5. I seem to remember that was $4.99 an issue. So then this as well. So you're probably looking at about $12.50 a month just for these. That seems a lot, doesn't it, in 1998?
In 2008, probably about £2 by that point. But let's look. No, we're doing a disservice. October 98, White Dwarf, the grand sum of £3.50.
It was still $3.50.
Yep.
Oh, excellent, sir. Okay, so I'm convinced that Inferno was $4.99. Magazine price $19.98. Okay, right, Inferno magazine. I pull this up. I'll cut all this out. I'm intrigued. I want to know.
And yeah, and as you say, third edition has just come out because the October White Dwarf has your free Dark Eldar Warrior and Codex Space.
Wow.
Yeah, I say this is where I got third edition because I was still at that point running our club.
Mm-hmm.
This was very much I was kind of, let's say, it was on the outs for me slowly, just because that's how these things are.
Yeah, you shift and change and move as time goes along. Yep, Inferno was £5. Inferno was exactly £5. So yeah, okay. So a tenner a month. That's actually not that bad. Okie dokie then. Right, well, we will start to draw things to a close. Andy, where can people find you if they down? And
only real place to catch me these days in terms of social media is Blue Sky, attcomics.bsky.social. I really say have Facebook, but I won't add you. It's not a knock. I just very rarely use it. It's horrible. I'm not on Twitter. If you are at any of the TF Nation events, such as I record this, we record this week I'm in Manchester for a TFN Minicon. I will be at the bigger one in August and our one in Reading in November. Exact date to be confirmed.
Awesome sauce. Awesome. As for myself, I don't have a huge amount of social media out on Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, and Discord. Yeah, as for my own personal stuff, you can Instagram AD Nickel. But yeah, that's about it, really. I don't have anything else. But come and join us at thefluffandhammer.com because there is stuff that goes up every single day. It is a daily grind of stuff. And I've just finished a massive overhaul of the site, so you can now move around it a bit easier. So yeah, that's all good. So if you want anything from deep dives into old publication history to this type of show, right the way through to what else have I got? The Every Metal Galleries that comes out every Monday, where I systematically scan from my own old White Dwarf copies every metal page from every White Dwarf in order because I've got problems. That's where you can find them. So with all that being said, we're going to get out of here. Thank you very much for listening. If indeed you still are, good night.
Farewell.